Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I was having a conversation with one of my readers the other day, kind of about her career path. And so it kind of got me thinking about a topic that I get asked about a lot. And that's just like the overall, like your overall career path and whether or not it needs to be a straight line, whether or not you need to be doing the same thing for years and years. So I thought it would be cool to kind of just talk to you about my career path and to show you guys like all the different things that I've done since I started working, and to kind of show you how like my path has been all over the place. My path has not been a straight one for sure. It's been full of like a lot of ups and downs, and some of the stuff that I've done has made sense. Some of it just kind of doesn't. Ultimately, what I want you guys to take away from this video is like, you don't have to have it all figured out right now. You don't need to know exactly what you're going to be doing 10 years from now. Like, I absolutely hate it when people ask me like, oh, what are your 5-year career goals? And like, what's your 10-year long-term plans? And it's like, I don't freaking know. I don't know what I'm even gonna be like eating for lunch tomorrow. Like, how am I supposed to tell you for certain what my long-term 10-year goals are? Yes, I believe that you should have stuff that you're striving towards, but I think that it can be a little bit debilitating to kind of force people to think about what they're gonna be doing 5 years from now, when really the person who you are and the things that you're interested in and the things that you like to do, those things are all gonna change even within a year. And so I think that the more that we can just kind of embrace the fact that your path is like this continuous period of discovery, the happier people are gonna be in their jobs. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe it just sounds like a bunch of crap, but honestly, that's kind of what I've used to help guide me in my career path. And yeah, I'm at a point where I'm really happy doing what I do. So the first job I ever took that wasn't like working for my dad was working as a campus tour guide. Working as a tour guide was really fun. I went to FIU, my state college. It was like 10 minutes from my house, and I commuted there. I didn't live on campus, but I would just like drive there and come back home at night. But I still wanted to like make a little bit of money during the semesters, so that's what I did. I would work maybe like, I don't know, like 3 hours a day. It wasn't like a full-time job. It was definitely a part-time gig, and my paychecks were like $100 every 2 weeks. So I was making no money, but it was still a good experience. And I learned a lot of skills on that job. I learned that I could definitely talk in front of crowds, because like I would have to give tours to like families and parents and the students. It was a good learning experience. It was fun. I worked with a bunch of my friends and we would just like laugh all day. But obviously that's not what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I was not interested in being a tour guide forever. So I did that probably for like about a year. And then I applied for my first like real full-time job. So when I was going to school and getting my bachelor's degree was in healthcare administration. And so I saw myself, being an administrator at a big hospital, working in management there. So I applied to a job working at one of the big healthcare systems here in town. I applied for the first job that I could get. I figured it would be a good way to get my foot in the door so that once I did graduate, I could be promoted or I could go to a different department. And so that's what I did. I had a couple of jobs there at the hospital. So I was a secretary for, I don't know, like a year, maybe a little bit more. I don't have my resume in front of me, and it was such a long time ago that I can't remember, but it wasn't very long. I was promoted to a job as an administrative assistant, and in that role, I kind of helped out with a lot of the physician events and a lot of the community events, a lot of the events that the hospital would put on for the employees too. It was a really fun job, and then like looking back now, one of the things that I used to do a lot was like put together flyers and communications that we'd post all over the hospital, letting the employees and the doctors know about like the different events that we were having. And so looking back now, it's like I've always had like an interest in some kind of creative design and graphic design. So it's cool that even back then I was doing some of the stuff that, I use now on a daily basis. So eventually I came to a point where I was like, I want to now kind of explore the clinical side of the hospital, because I had a lot of experience at this point in just like the HR field and the fun parts of, like putting together these events and working with the doctors and working with employee relations. But I wanted to learn a little bit more about the clinical aspect of the hospital. So I took a job in the research department working as a regulatory coordinator. I didn't know a whole lot about that field, But I did end up eventually getting a lot of experience in it. But I remember I was super excited when I took that job because it was a huge pay increase. I was gonna be making like 10 grand more than I was making as an admin assistant. One of the things that I remember the most about that job is just like thinking like, I never in a million years would have thought that I was gonna be a researcher or be working on research studies. Like that's not what I grew up thinking I would be doing. That's not what I went to school thinking I would be doing. But it was one of those opportunities that fell in my lap. And rather than saying like, oh, you know, this is not exactly part of my plan, I kind of embraced it. I saw it as like an awesome learning opportunity. And so I embraced it and I took that job. And it was definitely something that helped me in my next job. So from working in research, I took a job as a contract administrator. And still working at the hospital, I basically worked in their supply chain department. And what I was responsible for doing was negotiating contracts, negotiating the prices of like all the items that we would use in the hospital. And again, it was not a fun job. I've talked about it before. It's not something that I would wake up going, oh my God, I love this. Like I love negotiating contracts and reading through paperwork and paying invoices and things like that. But it was an experience. Again, it was another opportunity to just expand my skill set. And it was just like the next step. It was, you know, I haven't been at a job for more than like 3 years. I think the most that I've stayed at a job is a little bit over like 2.5 years. And for me, at least, that has worked out because I can now say, you know, I'm 27 years old and I have experience in a lot of different things. It's great if you're like an expert in your field, and it's great if you are really, really good at what you do. But in today's market, everything is just so volatile and everything is just so like uncertain. And I think it's nice and valuable to have a lot of different skill sets that you can like tap into depending on what job you end up having. So I worked as a contract administrator for a little while, and ultimately I got to the point again, like 2 years in, where I was like, this is not what I want to do the rest of my life. And I accepted it. I came to terms with it. And then eventually I got my job that I have now working at an advertising agency. Again, has my path been a straight path? Absolutely not, because again, my bachelor's was in healthcare administration, my master's was in public administration. There was a time where I thought I wanted to work at a nonprofit, maybe eventually in the future I will, but again, I went from working at a hospital to working at an advertising agency, and those are just two very different things. So in the job that I've had now, my official role is social media manager and digital content strategist. So that's my official role. I manage all the social media accounts for our clients. And I actually have a video where I kind of go into detail about what I do every day. So I'll link that below in case you're interested in checking it out. But I'm also a copywriter for the agency. And so basically I get paid to write. On top of that, I have my blog where I'm working with clients and I'm working on sponsored campaigns and sponsored content. And so I'm monetizing my blog in that way. And now once the baby gets here, that path is going to change again, because once the baby gets here, I'm no longer going to be managing social media. Now I'm pretty much going to be working from home as a copywriter. And I plan on doing another video in the future just about my plans for once the baby gets here, as far as like, you know, my career and my job. But as it stands now, I'm going to be making money once the baby gets here by getting paid to write. So here I am, all these years later, a copywriter, a blogger, a social media influencer. Now I have a YouTube channel. That's very different from what I started off doing as a secretary working at a hospital. And that's really the point that I just wanted to make with this video, is that your path is going to change, and that's 100% okay. As long as you are embracing new opportunities, and as long as you're not staying stagnant with a job that you hate, where you're not even gaining any new skills, as long as you're doing something, then you're okay. And it's all right that you graduate from school with a degree in something and end up doing something totally different. That's okay. It's normal, and it actually happens to a lot more people than you think. You know, when you go and you pick a major when you're like 18 years old and you start college, you know very little about yourself still. And you're forced to make this very big decision that can potentially impact the rest of your life. But your interests and the things that you like and your skill set, all of that is going to change. especially during your 20s where you're just figuring yourself out, you're figuring out the stuff that you like to do. So don't be too hard on yourself. Embrace that squiggly line of a career path and just keep moving forward. As long as you're moving forward, as long as you're making progress, as long as you are learning, then dude, in my book, you are doing totally 100% okay. All right guys, so really that's all I wanted to say about this for now. If you have any questions about any of the jobs that I've had, or if you have any specific questions that you want to ask me about your career path, or if you just need some general advice, or you don't know what to do at the very moment and you're kind of in between things, leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you guys. I would love to hear what's going on in your lives, in your career. And if you like the overall message of this video, I would really appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up, if you subscribe. And yeah, that's it for now. We'll talk soon, guys. Bye.